Now, I'm going to give you one of the working principles of the universe, so if you've been sleeping, listen right now. The principle is as follows. When a dog plays checkers, you don't criticize his game, you're just pleased and surprised that he's playing at all. Let me run that by one more time for the slower among us. When a dog plays checkers, you don't criticize his game. You're pleased and surprised that he's playing at all. Let me tell you something. Your husband is not perfectible because of the fall. Your wife is not perfectible. Your church is not perfectible. Your consistory is not perfectible. And above all, you're not perfectible. I participated in a study at Harvard when they were deciding why people went into full-time Christian service. And they found out the reason most of us do this is because we are guilty and we're trying to make up for it. One of the problems with most of us, clergy and clergy wives, is that we are perfectionists trying to make up for that which has already been made up for by the Son of God. I have written in the front of my Bible, you wouldn't be so shocked at your own sin if you didn't have such a high opinion of yourselves. When was the last time you recognized the deep and abiding truth that there is a limit of only one Messiah to the universe and you're not it? When did you recognize the fact that God can do perfectly well without you, that he was doing fine before you got here and he will do fine after you're gone? You know the song, and I love the music, by the way. You know the poem, God has no feet but our feet, and no hands but our hands, no eyes but our eyes. That's an abomination. Not true. God does as he pleases, and he does it right well. God does as he pleases, and he does it right well. He doesn't need your preaching. He doesn't need your pastoral care. He doesn't need your music. He doesn't need your administration. He doesn't need your abilities. He doesn't need your gifts. He has condescended to allow you to be a part of what he was already going to do. I wish you could meet my father. When we get to heaven, I'll introduce you to him. He was a drunk, but he loved his boys. He was a pool shark, and he still is known in the mountains of western North Carolina as a pool hustler. I remember the time when he first visited the church that I served in Boston. I had talked the session into buying a pool table for the youth center, primarily for the pastor's benefit. And I got so I could beat all the Presbyterians, and that's no big deal. If you're trying to make a few bucks, play Presbyterians, Reformed people. They got their nose in a theology book and they don't know dink about pool. But I got so I could beat the Baptist. And they're better, but I got so I could beat the Nazarenes. They're Arminians and work hard at everything. And I want you to know, I was really good, and I could hardly wait to play my dad. Now, I never seen him play pool because my mother was sure that Satan resided in the pool hall. My dad came to visit just a year before he died. By the way, he became a Christian 3 months before he died. A Seventh-day Adventist doctor said, Mr. Brown, you got 3 months to live. And we're going to pray, and then I'm going to talk to you about Jesus. And he did. And so I'll introduce you to my father when we get home. And this doesn't have anything to do with what I'm teaching this morning, but we went into the youth center, and I want you to know he ran the table 3 times. The balls were going out to the middle of the table and turning around and going into pockets left. And I'll never forget my father putting his bifocals on the pool table, leaning on his pool stick and saying, son, when I was younger, I was better. But he loved his sons. One was a lawyer, a district attorney. My brother died 5 years ago, my kid brother. I'm 51, and he went home too soon. He was a Democratic politician, and the only good thing about his death is that he now knows the political truth. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. He was a lawyer, and I was a preacher. My daddy used to say, I got 2 sons. There's no trouble in the world. that I can get into that one of them can't help me out of. But sometimes he would take us out in the car and he'd let us sit in his lap and put our hands on the steering wheel. And we would come home and say, Mom, we drove the car. We didn't drive the car. He allowed us to put our hands on the steering wheel. He condescended to allow us to go where he was going, to be a part of that which he was doing. And all of life illustrates Bible doctrine. And that's what God has done for us. So quit taking yourself so seriously. Don't be so uptight. Nothing's going to fail if you fail. When you bomb in the pulpit, the world's not going to come to an end. If you mess it up in counseling, it's okay. Because you see, when a dog plays checkers, you don't criticize his game. You're just pleased and surprised that he's playing at all.